On tonight's No Things Considered, did anything else happen in the news other than Charlottesville? We're willing to bet CBS Sunday Morning covered it. And now here's your host, Tim Young.
Welcome to No Things Considered. My name is Tim Young. We got a lot to get to today. If you weren't at BronyCon this weekend in Baltimore, where I was, by the way, and we're going to show you that tomorrow, you were in Charlottesville, Virginia. And if you were there, the only thing you didn't have to worry about was mosquitoes. You see, they've got those tiki torches Mom and Dad helped them buy and pick out from Home Depot. Not cool. Nothing good about white supremacy, but also nothing good about Antifa and everyone going there to pick a fight. You have to remember that Charlottesville, the mayor in particular, right after Trump was elected, declared it the capital of the resistance. You know, that whole sometimes violent, most of the time violent, resistance to Trump, where people will pick fights and fight at Berkeley and try to keep people who have the opposite views of them from speaking. It's a thing. You knew Charlottesville was a big deal when last night during the Teen Choice Awards, Teen Vogue said that they were not going to tweet about it, guys. Instead, they were going to tweet about white supremacy and Charlottesville. Wow, that's exactly what the Teen Vogue reading population wanted to hear. And when they said, hey, we've got action items for you, Teen Vogue did, what are they doing? Oh, they're going to go protest outside of Trump Tower. That is the only way to stop white supremacy in America, of course. Protesting the president, that's what's going to stop white supremacy, because Teen Vogue is pointing a finger at President Trump as if it is his fault that individuals decided to suddenly hate people for their demographics, whether it be race or sexual orientation or any of that kind of things. This is just campaign rhetoric that's being blown up even more. Individual hateful people are hateful because of their own decisions, not because of someone else's influence. I don't hate anyone. I don't like violence. I'm not a white supremacist. I think it's all disgusting. And you have to say that now because you have to virtue signal to fit in. It's ridiculous. Now, if one person knows about virtue signaling and is ready to jump all over it, it's this guy. John Oliver started his show the other day by talking about Charlottesville and doing exactly what you'd think he'd do, blaming President Trump.
Even after a few hours to think about it, the best he could do was squeeze in this response before a bill signing.
We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides.
Wait, on many sides? This was a white nationalist rally.
Yes, it was a white nationalist rally. And yes, white nationalists, kind of disgusting. But here's the thing. People are showing up to these to fight. People are showing up to Berkeley to fight from both sides. They know it's like a brand new fight club. And everyone is responsible. And all of the violence is bad. Trump doesn't like both sides of the violence. And that's what he was saying there. But that answer wasn't good enough for our friend over at Last Week Tonight.
And having made a wild false equivalence between Nazis and people who oppose Nazis.
A false equivalence between Nazis and people who oppose Nazis? No. He was one for wanting people who were causing violence against each other. They went to fight. They went to hurt other human beings. Both are disgusting for different reasons. Sure, one has a label to it. Actually, they both have labels, really. One is a white nationalist, and then Antifa, who are just trying to silence people who are, well, supporters of the president and right-wing conservatives. They're both wrong. One's more disgusting, but they're both wrong, and that's what the president was saying there. But hey, you know, let's just go ahead and blame him for all white supremacy, shall we?
Trump's first response to anything bad happening is always to immediately absolve himself of any personal responsibility. He's the kind of guy who starts eulogies at funerals saying, "Great guy, I didn't kill him, but he's a great guy and he's dead and I didn't do it."
Of course he's going to say it wasn't him that was responsible for it because he's been blamed for white supremacy in this country since the moment he said he was running for president. Wouldn't you be a little bit defensive at that point? Like, say, I don't know, say I keep getting accused of stealing the Pop-Tarts out of the snack room here in the office, which I might. But if it happens over and over again and they keep saying you're the guy stealing the Pop-Tarts, the first thing I'm going to say when none of the pretzel sticks are left, I'm going to say I didn't steal those pretzel sticks. It's kind of the same logic. I'm going to be defensive. I get beat up all the time for the exact same thing that I did not do. And so I'm going to defend myself to start with. But this is where it goes a little bit too far.
I've got to say, David Duke and the Nazis really seem to like Donald Trump, which is weird because Nazis are a lot like cats. If they like you, it's probably because you're feeding them.
So it's interesting that he says that white supremacists like Trump because he's feeding them like you would feed a cat that would keep coming around. Because in that case, then any violence that came out of the resistance would be, oh, remember that slide? Wouldn't that be linked then to the mayor of Charlottesville? Or I don't know. Say Teen Vogue is saying that you should go protest outside Trump Tower. So if you go and protest as part of the resistance outside Trump Tower and there's violence, is Teen Vogue then responsible? Because if you can't make that correlation there, you can't make a correlation from violence and white supremacy to the President of the United States. But who's listening, right? Where's the logic at? That would be too much thought.
Would want to immediately and repeatedly disavow. And it's not like Trump wasn't given the opportunity. Watch what happened at the end of his speech.
Thank you, everybody.
Mr. President, how do you respond to white nationalists who say they're participating in Charlottesville because they support you?
They'd like me to sign the bill here instead of outside, so I think we'll do that. Okay? Thank you.
You know, for a second there, as he came back to the podium, I almost thought, well, maybe he's about to say the right thing.
By the way, very clear microphone on that reporter asking a question from a poll. Usually not that clear. It's usually not that well mic'd up. But anyway, listen, did he have an opportunity to disavow racism, the Klan, and David Duke? Sure he did. He had many, many opportunities. And did he do it? Yeah, he did. He actually did. Donald Trump the other day was disavowing and talking about the awful both sides fighting. Everyone going down to Charlottesville to pick fights with one another. Just because he doesn't say it specifically, which he's done many, many times, doesn't mean that he is, in fact, a racist. Shall we begin a journey down memory lane with all the times that Donald Trump has shot down, disavowed, and said that he is disgusted by racism, David Duke, and the Klan? Take it away.
I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke. I've been doing it now for 2 weeks. You're probably about the 18th person that's asked me the question.
And there's clip one. See, John Oliver saying that he's a racist. I'm sure The Daily Show will say he's a racist tonight. I'm sure that Stephen Colbert will say it in The View. But let's go one for one. If you guys want to shoot down your friends who are saying that Donald Trump is still a racist, just show them any one of these clips. Or hell, the whole show. Let's go for round two.
Are you ready before you ask the question?
Newt Gingrich said every Republican should repudiate this guy no matter what it takes.
And I do. Are you ready?
Would you support a Democrat over David Duke if that was what was necessary to defeat him?
I guess depending on who the Democrat, but the answer would be yes. Look, the answer is as quick as you can say it. In fact, I want to answer you before you
totally
even ask the question.
Right?
Because last time, with another person in your position, I did it very quickly, and they said he didn't do it fast enough. Rebuked. Is that okay? Rebuked.
Rebuked.
Done.
So there Donald Trump's even saying he'd support a Democrat to run against David Duke if David Duke was a candidate for Senate. That's how much he doesn't like him. He supports somebody from the other party. He also rebukes him there. I don't know. So let's just go one for one. How about like Morning Joe? Morning Joe. Let's do that.
But I disavowed David Duke. Now, if you look on Facebook, right after that, I also disavowed David Duke.
So there's the president saying when he was running for office that if David Duke were to run for Senate, he'd support a Democrat against him, somebody from the opposite party to stop David Duke, and that he rebukes him and he doesn't like his racism. All right, well, let's go for another one. Let's say the Today Show probably mentioned that Donald Trump didn't disavow racism.
But I disavowed David Duke. Now, if you look on Facebook, right after that, I also disavowed David Duke. When we looked at it and looked at the question, I disavowed David Duke. So I've disavowed David Duke all weekend long on Facebook, on Twitter, and obviously it's never enough.
So there's the president disavowing David Duke again. But you know, that's probably not enough. So what's another show that would... let's do one for one with Seth Meyers. Seth Meyers will probably say that Donald Trump never disavowed racism and David Duke.
David Duke endorsed me? Okay. All right. I disavow. Okay?
So there you go. David Duke endorsed him. He disavowed David Duke there at that campaign event. But it's probably not enough, because I bet our friends at Morning Joe are going to say that Donald Trump didn't disavow and didn't shoot down racism. So it's not like we have a clip from Morning Joe where he did it on their show. Oh, we do?
But I disavowed him. I disavowed him. I disavowed the KKK. I just did the Today Show, and it was the same thing. And I said, how many times do I have to disavow? Do you want me to do it again for the 12th time?
Well, I wanted it on the record on this show. Let me follow up, and then I'll open it up to the table.
Just to put it clear, I disavowed him in the past, and I disavow him now. And it was very clear that I disavowed, but the press doesn't want to go with it.
Wow, that's crazy. But you know what? How would Donald Trump react if he was faced with somebody who was dressed up like a Klansman? How would he react? You ever wonder how that would go down? Oh, you don't have to, because that happened at a campaign event.
In the good old days, law enforcement acted a lot quicker than this. A lot quicker. In the good old days, they'd rip him out of that seat so fast. But today, everybody's politically correct. Our country's going to hell with being politically correct.
So a guy dressed up like a Klansman shows up to a Trump event and the entire stadium booed him, and then Donald Trump turned his back to him, and then Donald Trump followed up with the fact that he would have been thrown out, violently thrown out, had it been another time. Doesn't sound like he likes the Klan a lot there. I don't know. But you know what? Paul Krugman today said that in the New York Times, in his piece, that Donald Trump won't name white supremacy and won't denounce David Duke. It's not like we have another half a dozen clips about this. Hit the next one.
I've rejected David Duke. I've rejected the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. From the time I'm 5 years old, I rejected them. I put it on Twitter last week. When I put out a minor message, everybody picks it up. Donald Trump just tweeted something very unimportant. Let me just explain. When I put out that I reject KKK and David Duke, nobody picks it up. You know why they don't? Because they don't want to pick it up. They pick it up. You pick it up. Everyone else picks it up. You saw simultaneously, practically at the same time. They don't want to pick it up. Now, I have been asked this question so many times. I have rejected it so many times.
So you see, Donald Trump is a little frustrated with the fact that he has to keep denouncing the KKK and white supremacy and David Duke, because when he says it one time, it's not enough for anyone. They want to keep saying he's a racist. They want to keep saying that he's causing all of the issues with Nazis and white supremacy when he cannot denounce it more. Because it's not like the Nazi publication would have endorsed him on a full-page ad and the campaign would have dropped a statement on that, right? Oh.
Donald Trump's campaign is denouncing the endorsement it got in the latest issue of The Crusader. That's the official newspaper of the Ku Klux Klan, and it devoted its entire front page to praising Donald Trump for his quote-unquote nationalist views, including his vow to build a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border. In a statement Tuesday, Trump's campaign told CBS News this publication is repulsive and their views do not represent the tens of millions of Americans who are uniting behind our campaign, adding that the campaign denounces hate in any form.
But Donald Trump loves the white nationalists, right? I mean, that's their what was that, the Nazi paper, the Klan paper there? The campaign shot it down. He shot it down again. But man, this must be just recent, right? This must be a new thing for him. He wouldn't have done it all the way back in the past. When Donald Trump wasn't a member of the Republican Party and he was a member of the Reform Party, he referred to David Duke as a bad person who was a racist. And we have the clip.
When you say the party is self-destructing, what do you see as the biggest problem with the Reform Party right now?
Well, you've got David Duke just joined, a bigot, a racist, a problem. I mean, this is not exactly the people you want in your party.
David Duke is a bigot, a racist, and a problem to Donald Trump because Donald Trump doesn't support the guy. And that was all the way back in 2000, and I'm sure he's got more and more clips back. This is just a cursory search of Google. You can find all of these clips very easily, or you can just take the show and send it to your friends who are saying that Donald Trump is a racist, because it's that easy. It's an absolutely ridiculous claim. What more? Sure, beat the horse.
Trump was also asked about acts of violence popping up in his name or against his supporters, and about reports of racial slurs and personal threats against minorities by some of his supporters.
I'm very surprised to hear that. I hate to hear that. I am so saddened to hear that. And I say, stop it. If it helps, I will say this, and I'll say it right to the camera, stop it.
Donald Trump doesn't want his supporters being violent. Donald Trump doesn't want his supporters being racist. And he's saying stop it to the camera. How much more do you need? There are dozens and dozens more clips of Donald Trump disavowing the Klan, disavowing David Duke, telling his supporters not to be violent. But that's not enough because the narrative keeps going that he's causing all of these problems. It's absolutely ridiculous. And look, he's not a perfect president. No one in politics is perfect. And I'm not just taking one side or the other here, but I'm saying this is a ridiculous story and that everyone went to Charlottesville to be violent against each other. That was the story. Disgusting white supremacists and other people who just wanted to fight. And that is not where our country should be. That being said, CBS Sunday Morning, well, sure they covered it, right? Let's run our segment. They should have just gone to church. On CBS Sunday Morning, or, well, Baby Einsteins for elderly people, they started with Ray Romano telling jokes about, well, relationships and communication. They went on to show a little bit of the swamp and some flamingos. And they ended with, well, solar eclipse. It's a-coming.
Ready or not, here it comes. 8 days from today, for the first time in 99 years, a solar eclipse.
CBS Sunday Morning, you've got your finger on the pulse of the news that everybody cares about in the world. Wow. Whew. Powerful stuff there. Powerful stuff. Anyway, guys, listen. Racism sucks. Violence sucks. All that stuff. It's awful. Don't beat each other up. Don't hate people for who they are. It's very simple. That's it for today's episode of No Things Considered. We actually considered a lot there. Kind of counter to the name. If you want to see more breaking news and great stories, scroll down the Daily Caller Facebook page. Go to dailycaller.com, dailycallernewsfoundation.org. Share this if you loved it. Click the like button, click that smiley face button, click the heart button. And be kind to everybody. Because, it's just what we should be doing.